Houston. Houston, we have a problem. DJ Apollo has landed. I repeat, DJ Apollo has landed at Hitmix 88.9 WEIU.
Welcome to the Tales of Music and Film podcast. My name is DJ Apollo, and man, am I excited. We are continuing the special that I had planned for this last week. We are doing the Scream special, and we are on part 2. And now we are getting to the main part that I was so excited to talk about, Scream 6. So to do a little recap for you, I just got back to Eastern Illinois University after my week-long spring break. And one of the highlights was that me and my mom got to go to the theater to finally watch the much-anticipated Scream 6. If you happen to have heard me on the radio, I have been talking about this film non-stop for the past, year almost. I have been dying to see this movie. And Scream 6, seeing it on the big screen, and we got to see it in 3D, so that was an amazing experience all in itself. Scream 6 was an absolute phenomenon. It was everything that I hoped for. It was way better than I ever could have thought. It was an amazing 6th installment, and I'm so beyond excited to talk about it here today. And I actually have a list of all my talking points that I will get into. And just to start right off the bat, man, this movie, I'm telling you, Scream fans, if any of you are listening to this recording, I highly recommend that you check this movie out, because going into this film, it had a lot of changes going in, and in this one, just like Scream 5, took a lot of risks. Now, the first thing you'll notice with this film is that Neve Campbell did not return to play Sidney Prescott for this one. To sum up what happened, when they were pitching together the idea for 6 and they were getting all the actors back, the payment offer that they gave to Neve Campbell, Neve felt like it wasn't high enough because she felt very underappreciated for the work she's done in the past. And apparently, I don't think it was ever released, the exact offer that was given to her, but whatever it was, she felt that it was way too low compared to what she's been paid before. Now, besides the payment, there's other things you have to think about when she made this decision. First off, she has her own family to worry about. She has kids, a husband, and whenever you're shooting a movie like this, there's a good chance, you'll be gone for 6 months, so you have to make sure that it's really worth it. And she felt that she was underappreciated, so she declined the offer. And this was announced before I think even the first trailer had dropped for this movie. So going into this is going to be the first one not to have Sidney Prescott in it. And it was also announced that this movie, for the very first time, was not going to take place in the fictional town of Woodsboro, but this one is taking place in New York City. And I thought that it was pretty funny that a lot of the fans made all these fan posters. There's a Facebook page that I follow. It's a Scream fan page on Facebook, and I kept seeing all these posts of people making their own posters, like Ghostface Takes Manhattan, and they were referencing that Friday the 13th film where it's called Jason Takes Manhattan. I thought that was pretty funny. I actually saw one just the other day where someone remade the Home Alone 2 poster, and it had Jenna Ortega reading the newspaper with 2 ghost faces behind her. I thought that was pretty funny. So it spawned a lot of very funny fan posters. So those are the 2 big things going into this film. Now, the reason why I was so won over on this film was how it handled the cast in this one. Because going into this, I really wanted them to up their game. I wanted the new cast, that 5 introduced, to get a lot more screen time and to really develop their characters more. I'm saying this right now, this film could not have done a better job of that. And I'm telling you right now, as far as returning characters go, This film had two returning fan favorites, which is all this film needed. We of course have Courtney Cox coming back yet again to play Gale Weathers, and a fun little fact: she actually holds a record now. She is the first character in a horror franchise to consistently play the same character 6 times in a row. Apparently, that's never been done before in a film franchise where a character has been in it every single time consistently. So she has a little record going for her. And she was really in the next returning character. Now, this is the news that won me over for this film. Hayden Panettiere returning to play the classic character Kirby Reed. So, Kirby was a character that was introduced in Scream 4. She was one of the new teenagers, a part of the new friend group that 4 focused on. And I loved her character. Like, Kirby was one of the highlights of Scream 4 for me. I loved her character. She was a nice addition. And in the movie, towards the end of the film, she's rescuing one of her friends, not knowing that her friend is the killer, and he stabs her in the stomach. And then we see her fall to the ground, but we don't see her die. So this, of course, a good majority of the fan base had theories going around for years that Kirby survived. And around the time that Scream 5 was coming out in theaters, all these fan posters were being made of Kirby coming back, like of her getting a call from Ghostface. Like, the fans pushed for like a solid year on the studio to bring back Kirby, and when the news was released that they were bringing her back, dude, I'm telling you, that was like a huge epic win for the fan base. Because this is what I love about the Scream films. Like, they listen to what the fans want. And bringing back Kirby was the win. The minute I found out they were bringing her back, that's all I needed. But going into this, I was very worried because I was actually talking with a couple of friends of mine in my Production 4 class today. I was telling them, because we were all talking about Scream 6, because, we're all in films. We like studying film in our spare time. And, Scream 6, like the big news going around right now. And, I brought out the fact that in a lot of horror film franchises, there's a lot of them that do a very horrible job of respecting, legacy characters. Like, one of the examples that I brought up was like when Halloween H20 came out back in 1998. There was this nurse character. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she appears in the first 2 Halloween films. And H20 literally opens up with her being killed off within the first 5 minutes, and she is killed off again in Halloween Kills, because that's a different timeline, and that's a can of worms I'm not going to get into. It's very confusing, like the Halloween franchise. Speaking of that, another thing that Scream 6 really did for me was that it cured my Halloween Ends depression. So, a little backstory for you. Blumhouse just finished up a brand new Halloween trilogy that they started back in 2018. It was 3 films. The first was called Halloween 2018. And I saw that in theaters, and it's one of my favorite Halloween films. Now, the sequels that followed is a different story. Halloween Kills was a very mixed film for me. Some of it I liked, but a lot of it I didn't. And then Halloween Ends was just a complete train wreck. I can't even put into words how disappointing Halloween Ends was. I felt so empty walking out of that theater, and then Scream 6 single-handedly cured my depression from that and reminded me that this is how you do a sequel. What Paramount is doing with this trilogy that they're doing, I'm so happy. 5 and 6 are some of my favorite Scream films of all time. And jumping back to the characters, the highlight for me was Kirby in this film. They did such an amazing job writing her character. Like, in this film, she is 30 years old now. She was like 17 or 18 years old during the events of Scream 4. In this one, she's 30 now. She is a full-time police officer, and she's in charge of taking care of the new characters, and she helps them out find out who Ghostface is. Dude, she was amazing in this. The way she was written, I know I'm repeating that a lot, but dude, the writing for her was so perfect. She was her same old self, just better. Like, one of my favorite scenes in this is where she has a sit down with the character Mindy Martin, and Mindy is kind of basically the Randy of this trilogy. She's just like her uncle, where Mindy is the massive film lover who knows the rules and how to survive the movie. And in Scream 4, that's what Kirby was. She was the big, film buff. So the two of them have like a bonding moment where they're talking about all these films that they love. And I really enjoyed that, Kirby had amazing chemistry with the other cast. And I love how they wrote that Sam, our new female lead, she actually knows Kirby. They went to high school together. Sam reveals that Kirby would have been a senior when Sam was a freshman. So I thought that was a nice little thing they did there, that they know each other. And Kirby was great, but she only had 9 minutes of screen time in this film, and it felt way longer. She was the best addition to this. And of course, you had Courtney Cox coming back to play Gale Weathers, but what's crazy is I think she had less screen time in this one than she did in 5. I think her screen time, I think she had 11 to 12 minutes in this film. And this film is yet again 2 hours. And that's another fun fact. This is actually the longest film in the Scream franchise now. Not by much. I mean, it beats whatever the last one was by like 3 or 4 minutes. But this one is theoretically now the longest Scream movie. But anyway, Gale had not much screen time in this, but she was still a great character. But I will admit, though, the one thing they did with Gale in this film that I didn't like is that they kind of like took her back a few steps on her growth as a character, because Gale has a really bad reputation of writing books and all the horrible things she went through, and the books that she writes makes the killers famous, and then it does a horrible, because she's making these horrible people famous who killed like how many innocent people. And at the end of Scream 5, she said she was not going to write a book about the events that happened in that film. She said that straight to Sam, saying she was not going to talk about what Sam and Tara went through. And then in Scream 6, you find out that during the year between 5 and 6, Gale wrote the book, and now Sam and Tara are beyond frustrated with her. And we have a scene where Gale's trying to interview them, and then we get a recreation of when Sidney socked Gale in the first Scream film. And then in this one, Tara socks Gale in the face. So I thought that was a nice little, reference there. But I didn't like that because Gale has had much growth in the last 5 films. Like, that part to me didn't seem to fit well, where it's like, why would she go back to how she was before? Like, she's grown. So they kind of took her a few steps back in this one, but I can look past it. Like, she at the very least shows that she regrets writing the book, and she tries to make things right. So I can respect that. And a little side note here, I forgot to mention that as of right now, Scream 6 has made a brand new record, whereas it's now the highest grossing opening in the Scream franchise. As of right now, the film has only been in theaters for about, I think, a couple of weeks at this point, 2 or 3 weeks, and it's grossed $116 million. And that's the fastest that a Scream film has gained money in the franchise, so I think that's pretty cool that it's got that going for itself. And I see that audiences are giving it like a 4 or 5 it's giving it 4 or 5 stars, and I see on Rotten Tomatoes, another film reviewer website, that the audience likeness of this film is extremely high. It's like in the 70s, so it's like, it's a really good time, to be a Scream fan right now, because like Scream 6, I think, is doing way better than what was planned. Like, this film had so many amazing things going for it, and I'm going to continue talking about it. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I want to get into more with the characters. So I mentioned Gale and Kirby because they're the legacy characters that were brought back for this one. But now I want to talk about the cast that really carried this film. So we have our four new characters coming back from this one. We have Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, Mason Gooding, and Jasmine Brown all returning to play the characters. And they're basically the four main characters in this one. And going into this, I really wanted the four of them to have a lot more growth. And I'm telling you right now, this film could not have done a better job with their characters. Because, like, for example, it's just like, dude, the four of them have grown so much since the last movie. And one of my favorite things about this was Melissa Barrera's acting as Sam Carpenter, because apparently I didn't know this, and it wasn't just her. Apparently some Scream fans thought that the acting in 5 was kind of weak from the new cast. And let's just say they took those comments into consideration. All four of the actors in this really stepped their game up in their performances, especially Melissa Barrera as Sam. Her acting in this, like, I thought she did an incredible job in 5, but in this one, man, whole nother level. Her acting in this was so intense, and like, dude, I just gotta give her a big round of applause. Like, dude, she knocked it out of the park in this one. And Jenna Ortega, like, she's amazing in everything she's in. She did such an amazing job portraying Tara in this one. It was amazing. And same with Mason and Jasmine. They did a great job with their characters yet again. These four actors have such amazing chemistry together on screen. And I love the growth that they had in this one. Like, they've been through this once. They understand it now, you know? I really thought it was cool how the film introduced that Tara and Mason's character, Chad. So Tara and Chad actually get into a relationship this film, and I really like that because, you know, considering they both went through very horrible things in the last film, they both lost friends, and, you know, I think it was pretty cool that they're together now. I thought it was a really good romance. I really did. I think some of the fans may have had a problem with that, but me personally, I mean, I liked it. I kind of wonder if they'll be like the Gale and Dewey of this new story, but we don't know. But that's what it feels like to me a little bit. But you know, Jasmine did an amazing job in this one. I loved the new rules that she talked about when they had the group meeting. Okay, sequel rules. Here we go. You know, like, she was amazing, and that's really all I can say about our four returning leads. And now we're going to be getting into some of the new characters that this movie introduced. So right off the bat, we have Samara Weaving playing Laura Crane. And unfortunately, she's not a main character in this. So spoiler warning, Samara is the opening kill in this film. Like, she has this really long bar scene where she's waiting for a date, but he never shows up. And the date leads her on the phone to an alley, and of course it's a ghost face, and it kills her. I think a lot of the fans anticipated this happening because, like, literally in the trailer it shows her in an alley with her phone. I saw a ton of posts before the film was even in theaters, and most of the fans were speculating that was going to happen, and lo and behold, their theories came true. Up next on the new character list, we have Jack Champion, who plays the character Ethan Landry. And Ethan is a character who's not really in the film very much. He has some scenes. Apparently, he's one of the new friends that, you know, Sam, Tara, and the others made when they moved to New York City. And a little side plot here. The reason why our four main characters are in New York City is because they wanted to get away from Woodsboro and start a new life. So they all moved to New York City to get new jobs and to go to college, and they met Ethan, and he's kind of like part of the friend group now. And with the screen time that he had, I thought he was a nice character, but again, we didn't really see him very much, so I didn't really know what to think of him. And we continue here. The next person we got is Liana Liabrato, who plays the character Quinn Bailey, and I thought she was a nice addition to this film. She was, as well as she was part of the new friend group, and I thought she was a very good character. I think the actress did an amazing job. playing her, and I thought she was a very, very good character. I mean, I'm telling you what, that girl could have a horror scream like no tomorrow, which I do. When Ghostface attacks her, like the whole cast, man, like dude, the way they can just look so terrified, like man, everybody in this film, dude, they looked absolutely terrified. Just shows you how good their acting is. Now we have Devin Nakota, who plays Mindy's girlfriend in this film. The character's name is Anika Kyoko, and like I said, she was Mindy's new girlfriend in this film. And I thought they had real chemistry on screen. I thought they were a great couple, but unfortunately, spoiler warning, Anoko is killed off about halfway through the film during this very intense scene where Ghostface attacks all of our new characters at one of the apartments, and the neighbor has to put out a ladder through his window over an alleyway. And you got to remember, they're like 7 or 8 stories in the air, and the characters have to climb across this ladder one at a time while Ghostface is slowly breaking into the room they're trying to escape from. And this scene was like one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a Scream film. I just find it so amazing that they keep finding new ways to up the suspense in a franchise that's at 6 films, and they keep it fresh and new, especially by the time the 6th film comes around, is a remarkable achievement. And yeah, dude, that whole sequence, you need to see it for yourself. It's intense as heck. Dermot Mulroney plays a police officer in this film who helps Kirby try to track down who could be the killer or killers in this film, and the character that he plays is called Wayne Bailey, and like I said, he works alongside Kirby trying to figure out who could be the possible killers going after Tara and Sam and the others. And I thought it was a really nice addition to this film. I have not seen this actor in any other films, but I thought he did a great job in this one. And the last character name I will name off is, so the actor's name is Tony Revolori, who plays a college student named Jason Carvey. And Jason is the guy who killed Samari Weaving's character back at the beginning of the film. He's barely in this film as well. He's killed not long after he kills Samara's character. He leads her into an alley and then he stabs her over and over again, you know, like the classic Ghostface that we've seen before. And but this time he takes his mask off, hides his costume in his backpack, walks back to his apartment. This was the very first time that we've seen a Ghostface literally take the mask off. And he goes back to his apartment. Then he gets another call from another Ghostface. Then the Ghostface breaks into his apartment and kills him. And you're just kind of wondering what the heck is going on. But you find out later in the film that him and a friend of his had a plan to go after Sam and Tara because they believe that Sam made up what she went through in the last film and put the blame on 2 innocent people. Because you find out in this film, like during the events between 5 and 6, there's been this giant YouTube conspiracy that Sam was the killer the whole time because everybody knows now that she is the daughter of Billy Loomis, who was the original killer. That information is now in the public view for everybody to see. And these 2 guys believed, you know, all that information, so they were going to go after her. But then these other ghost faces broke into their apartment and killed them. And then now these killers are going after Tara and Sam for different reasons. Now, I want to give a full warning from this point going forward. I will be talking about more major spoilers about the events of Scream 6. I'm going to be getting into now here momentarily on who the killers are. So if you want to pause this from this point and go watch the film, you have been warned. So here we go. Before I get into that, one last talking point I want to get into before I go into how I feel about the killers. My favorite scene in this whole film, it was even shown in the trailer, is the shrine room. So when Kirby and the other cops have reached a dead end, same with the cast, Gail shows that she found a giant abandoned theater, and inside of it is this giant museum shrine of all the artifacts from the other Ghostface killers. There was this giant stage that had every other Ghostface costume that was worn by the other killers. Like, you have outfits, weapons, and other items that were used in the previous films. Like, you have to pause the scene, but you see so much stuff. Like, you see the television that was dropped on Stu by Sidney in the first film. My favorite scene in this is where Kirby walks over to a display case, and it has the outfit that her friend wore when her friend stabbed her. You have the knife that stabbed her. Sam walks up and looks at her dad's Ghostface costume. Chad and Mindy look at a display case that has shirts that Uncle Randy wore in the events of the first two films, and it was just so cool. Like, you're looking down like a trip down memory lane, a very bloody and awful, memory lane. But I just thought it was so cool. This one scene, blends all the films together, looking at the past history and everything. It was so crazy. The minute I saw this scene in the trailer, I knew that we were in store for something amazing. And this whole scene was very intriguing. And if you are a hardcore fan of this franchise, it's everything you could ever want. Now, the next talking point we're going to be getting into is the actual killers. And another thing that I think this film upgraded on, this is another example of the crew listening to the fans. So apparently, I didn't understand this, but apparently a good majority of Scream fans found the villains in Scream 5 to be a little too predictable. Apparently, I saw in a lot of comment sections that people revealed that they knew who the killers were instantly. But I'm just like, okay, but that was a lucky guess. You know what I mean? Apparently, there were some fans who knew who the killers were when the first trailer dropped. And I'm just like, okay, you may be good detectives, but that doesn't mean everybody spotted that, You guys are literally taking a guess, but apparently a lot of people guessed who the villains were pretty easily. And they found the villains to be very weak compared to the predecessors. So in this one, they really tried to up their game up to make the killers have a bigger, better motive. And I gotta tell you, man, I think this film did a way better job of hiding who the villains were in this. When the three killers are revealed at the end of the film, I never would have guessed it was them. Because to tell you the truth, going into this, like, I had theories in the back of my head that Kirby could possibly be a killer, even though that wouldn't have made a whole lot of sense. And I had a theory in the back of my head that Sam was actually a Ghostface. And the film is actually kind of hinting at that, but I'll get more into that here in a minute, because I'm actually going to end this talking about my theories for Scream 7, but we'll get to that. So the killers in this film were revealed to be... it was Ethan, Quinn, and Wayne. They were the killers in this. So the reason why all that shrine was created, all the artifacts Wayne found, because he's a police officer, he called other stations, other police, organizations, and he got all the evidence and brought it back. Because you're wondering, it's like, how in the heck could they have found all these evidence stuff? And then you find out that Quinn and Ethan are his kids. And then the three of them revealed to the characters why they went after them. Jack Quaid's character, Richie, who Sam slaughtered at the end of 5, was Wayne's oldest son. Quinn and Ethan are Wayne's kids, and he had a third child who was Richie, his oldest, and his three kids are all obsessed with the Stab films, and the three of them are going after Sam for revenge for killing Richie. There's this cool little thing when they go after Sam inside the theater building. There's this fan-made Stab movie that Richie made, and I thought that was a nice little detail. And Kirby and the others get destroyed in this. Like, Kirby gets shot, but she survives the film, thank goodness. and Tara and Sam both get beat up pretty good, but they walk out of this one way more victorious than last time. And there was a scene where Chad's character gets stabbed like 6 times, and he somehow survives that. That was one thing in the film that I thought was a little silly. Like Chad and Mindy both get stabbed multiple times in this film, in the stomach, mind you. And I'm just like, how the heck did they survive this? You know, I thought that that was really over the top, but they somehow survived. So just like, okay, whatever. But anyway, everybody else gets injured, and then Tara and Sam are the last ones standing. So it's them versus the 3 Ghostface killers. And I gotta tell you, man, this final battle in the film was one of the best finales I think we've seen in the franchise. It was breathtaking. And I know I say that a lot, man. Like my vocabulary is very limited, so I apologize. Like, I know that I use a lot of the same wording over and over again, and I'm really trying to work on it. But anyway, the finale was nuts. So like, Sam manages to get Kirby's gun, and she shoots Quinn's character in the head and kills her, and then the other killer, Ethan, dude, this scene was nuts. Tara stabs Ethan right in the mouth and kills him. And then Sam dresses up in her dad's Ghostface costume and stalks Wayne. Then she sneaks up from behind him and stabs him like 30-something times in the chest and kills him. And then that's the end of the film. And Ethan actually survived being stabbed, and he runs after Tara and Sam, and then Kirby comes in out of nowhere and drops the television that killed Stu, supposedly, onto his head. So I thought that was yet another good little reference. And then everybody is walking out of this one very victorious, and Kirby's being loaded into a van, and into an ambulance, and I love this little encounter between her and Sam. She tells Sam and Tara, listen, if you ever need help, just call me. We're all in this together. We're all a part of this very messed up family. And I love that, man. I just love that. You know, they're a group of survivors now, and they have to stand together. I loved that scene so much. And on a side note, I realized I forgot to talk about this, but what the film does is that the way it respects Sydney, Gale reveals to Sam and Tara that Gale talked to Sydney, and Sydney told the girls good luck and to stay safe, and because Gale tells them that Sydney is taking her husband and kids somewhere safe. She deserves her happy ending. So that was the way they wrote her off in this one. And I think that was the best thing they could have done, because she has a family to look after now. So I thought that was the best way they could have wrote out her character. So that was good. And so now that's going to bring us into the last thing I'm going to talk about for this special, and it's going to be my theories for Scream 7. Now, to tell you the truth, I want Scream 7 to be the last one, because I think Paramount making a solid trilogy is the best thing they can do. I want 7 to be like this epic finale to the whole thing, and I want them to get Sydney back for the one last fight. And what I want to happen, I want them to bring Stu back, because apparently there's a large majority of the Scream fan base believe that Stu is still alive, that he survived the giant 90s television being dropped on his head, because apparently there was a early draft for Scream 3 back when they were writing it, and one of the original ideas was that Wes actually wanted to do a cult of ghost faces, and the leader was going to be Stu. But this idea was dropped for a different plot idea that someone else had, I guess. So that whole thing was dropped. And when the fans learned about this, there's been theories going on forever now that Stu is still alive out there somewhere. And Scream 6 even hints that they might bring him back, because when Mindy and Kirby are talking about, horror films, Kirby goes, well, isn't that the television that killed Stu? Then Minnie's like, yeah, if you believe he's dead. So it's like there is no way they put that in there on accident. I'm kind of wondering if they're hinting that they're going to bring back Matthew Leonard to play Stu again. Now, dude, if they do that, that would be the greatest way to end this franchise. Bringing back one of the OGs, like that would be the best kind of fan service, in my opinion. And I would love if they brought that plot line back of having him lead like a cult of ghost faces, where there's like 12 or 20 of them or something, chasing them around whatever city they're in. That would be insane, you know? Like, that would really up the stakes like a lot. And then, you know, we'll get all the new characters together along with Kirby, Sydney, and Gale. Like, that would be amazing. I would love that. And I would also love it if they bring back Sydney's husband, Mark, to help too, because he's a cop. That would be amazing final battle. And that's what I want for this film. And to tell you the truth, I don't want Sydney to die. But another theory that I have, I think that Sam is going to become a ghost face. I think she might end up joining the group to kill people because Screams 5 and 6 have been hinting that she's just like her dad. Like, heck, in Scream 6, it opens up with her going to therapy because she straight up admits to her therapist that she enjoyed killing Richie in Scream 5. She loves the thrill of killing people to her. To her, it's a thrill. And the movie ends with her holding her dad's ghost face mask, looking at it, and then she drops it on the ground. But the film was hinting for a while now that she's turning into her dad. And to tell you the truth, I would love to see that because think about it. Our new female lead who we've been following, who's supposed to be the new hero, turns into the villain. That would be an amazing twist. I would love it if they do that. I don't know if they will or not, but personally, I would welcome that with open arms. Now, as far as characters being killed off, I don't think Sydney should be killed, considering everything she's went through. I think Sydney should be okay. I think that Tara should live after everything she's been through, but killing her off would be a pretty crazy move. As far as Chad and Mindy go, I don't know, to tell you the truth. Maybe they should live. I'm not sure. I mean, in the Scream franchise, no one is safe. So, but I think if they do bring back Kirby, I don't think she should be killed off either. I think she should live. But I think Gale would be a good character to kill off, making Sydney the last OG still alive. I think Gale would be a good choice to be killed off, but we'll have to wait and see, but that's really all I got theory-wise. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure how they should end the franchise once and for all. Like, I want Sydney to go back to her family so she can live her life in peace. And I want, you know, Sam to have and Tara to have happy endings, but we'll have to wait and see. I really, really want Kirby to live too after everything she's went through, but from what I've heard, they're in the middle of writing the Scream 7 script, and I'm really hoping that some of the theories that I talked about do come true. And I really want this to be the last one. I think this is the perfect time to end the franchise once and for all. And these films are doing such an amazing job honoring Wes Craven. And I think if he was still here, I think he would have adored these films to death. So that's going to wrap up me covering Screams 5 and 6. I hope that you enjoyed these recordings, and I highly recommend, if you have not watched the Scream franchise, I highly recommend them. They're some of the best horror films that you can ever watch, and some of them aren't necessarily horror. It's more of a thriller, you know, experience, but I'm so happy that my mom introduced me to this franchise. I love that we bond over these films. I love watching it with her. I love watching these films with my mom, and I'm so excited for her and I to go see Scream 7 in theaters, and that is a promise that we will see that on the big screen. So I recommend you check out the Scream films, especially 5 and 6. For all the fans out there who are not sure if they want to watch 5 and 6, take it from me. These films are incredible. I think they're some of the best entries that we've ever had. Highly recommend them. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure what film I'm going to cover on my podcast next, but whatever it is, I'm going to be very excited to cover it. And Again, I want to say this one more time. I want to thank everybody who has supported me for the past year doing this show. The show is just continuing to be one of the most amazing experiences that I've ever had, and it's all thanks to all you guys' amazing support. So just thank you so much for giving my show a chance, and I hope you enjoyed on what you listened to. And one last thing I want to do, I want to give a big shout out to my friend Justice. I mentioned her in my Big Trouble in Little China recording, but Justice is a dear friend of mine, and I've been texting her today, and she was telling me that she has been listening to a lot of my recording thing, and when she told me this, I just felt happy that my show was helping her out, and the amazing, beautiful feedback that she has given me about my recordings, it really hit me in the feels, and I just want to say thank you to her for her amazing support, and I had to give her a shout out. She is a beautiful human being, and I am so honored to call her my friend. And I just want to say that I hope you enjoyed this recording, and until next time, I am DJ Apollo, and you are listening to the Tales of Music and Film.